So there's a lawsuit making the round right now with a headline that, like everything nowadays, sounds like a Black Mirror episode. ChatGPT pretended to be a lawyer and convinced a woman to fire her real attorney. And look, I get it. That headline slaps. It's got drama, it's got AI gone rogue, it's got a villain, and of course, social media understandably ate it up. But here's the thing. That's not quite what happened, and the actual story is both less scary and more important than the version everyone is sharing. So let's slow down, let's tell the real story, and then let's actually talk about why this is happening, because this isn't a one off, this is a pattern. And honestly, I think understanding it might save you a lot of grief. So let's get a little educational today, guys. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Olive Badger channel. If you're new here, this is where we talk about technology, the good, the complicated, and the stuff that makes you go, wait, hold on a second. So go ahead and grab your coffee because this one is going to be worth sitting with for a minute. All right, so let's start from the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. And I mean the actual beginning, not the viral clip version. So a woman named Graciela de la Torre, she's a logistics coordinator in Illinois, filed a long-term disability claim against her insurer, Nippon Life Insurance Company of America, after a workplace injury in 2019. So she had like carpal tunnel, tennis elbow, like real stuff. And now fast forward to January 2024, and she and her attorney settled the case. She signs a full release. The case is dismissed with prejudice, which I think is a legal term that just means it's done, it's closed, and it cannot be refiled. But I'm not a lawyer, so correct me if I'm wrong, legal people. But then something starts nagging at her. She thinks maybe the settlement wasn't right. Maybe she got a bad deal. And so she goes back to her attorney and says, hey, can we reopen this? And her attorney tells her, no, you signed a release. It's over. The settlement is final. That's just how it works. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment, because what happens next is the crux of this whole thing. Instead of getting, I don't know, a second legal opinion, those are usually free, right? Which she probably should have done. She uploads her attorney's response to ChatGPT and just simply asks it, am I being gaslighted? Gaslighted? Gaslit? Gas? Anyway, ChatGPT says yes. And from that point on, her attorney is just out. And ChatGPT is in. Her new lawyer now. Now, what follows is months of filings, 21 motions, a subpoena, 8 notices and statements, all drafted with ChatGPT's help. A judge denied her attempt to reopen the case in February of 2025, so she used ChatGPT to draft and file a brand new lawsuit against Nippon. The problem, beyond the legal dead end she was already in, is that those filings were full of hallucinated case law, fake citations, cases that don't exist, judges who never ruled on anything because the rulings were invented. We've seen this a couple of times before, but Nippon spent nearly $300,000 responding to all of it. And so now they are suing OpenAI. The case is Nippon Life Insurance Company of America versus OpenAI, filed March 5th of 2026 in the Northern District of Illinois. They want $300,000 in compensatory damages and $10 million in punitive damages. The core allegation is that ChatGPT engaged in the unauthorized practice of law. And OpenAI's response is that this complaint lacks any merit whatsoever. And that's the story. That's the real one, not some dramatic robot in a courtroom. No AI claiming they have a law degree, just a chatbot that very confidently said the wrong thing, and a person who believed it more than she believed a trained attorney. Okay, so ChatGPT pretended to be a lawyer. Let's talk about that framing, because I think it's doing a disservice to actually understanding this. ChatGPT did not walk into a bar exam. It did not claim to be licensed in Illinois. What it did was answer a question with extreme confidence, and that is a very different thing. And here is the distinction that matters. Pretending implies intent. It implies deception with awareness. ChatGPT doesn't have awareness. It doesn't know that it's not a lawyer any more than, I don't know, your GPS knows it just sent you into a lake. But what ChatGPT actually did was something way more mundane, but also way more dangerous. It pattern matched to authoritative, helpful response sounds like, and it delivered that with exactly zero uncertainty attached. No, you should verify this. No, I'm not a substitute for licensed legal counsel. Just, yes, you're being gaslighted, lit. And here's your motion. That's the real problem, not malice, misplaced confidence at scale. Now, is OpenAI responsible here? That is genuinely complicated, and I'm glad I'm not the legal team on this case. Is their usage policy does say ChatGPT shouldn't be used for legal advice without a licensed professional involved, but that policy update came in October 2024 after a lot of this was already underway, and like who actually reads the policies anyway? And like separately, a bill is advancing in New York right now that would explicitly prohibit AI chatbots from giving legal or professional advice and would create a private right of action for users harmed by it. So this is very much an active policy conversation at the moment, not a settled one. So the point isn't that AI is fine and nothing needs to change. Obviously, we need to work on this stuff. But the point is more that ChatGPT is a rogue lawyer and misidentifies where the danger actually lives. And if we get this wrong, we're just going to keep getting surprised. All right, so this is the part I actually do want to spend time on because AI hallucination gets thrown around like everyone knows what it means, but most explainers either skip the detail or go full computer science textbook. Neither is useful. So I want to give you the actual version here, do a little educating. So you have large language models or LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. All of them are trained on an enormous amount of text. Billions of documents, books, websites, court records, Wikipedia, Reddit, legal databases, all of it. And through that training, what they learn is to predict. Given everything that came before, what word most likely comes next, right? Like that's it. AI at its core, that's the whole trick. Incredibly sophisticated pattern completion. And that works beautifully for a lot of things: summarizing, explaining, brainstorming, drafting. When the answer exists somewhere in the patterns the model has learned, it can surface it in ways that feels almost magical. But here's a problem. The model doesn't really have a mechanism for saying, I don't know. So when a human lawyer doesn't have a case citation, they go look it up, or they say, I'm not sure, let me verify. They have an internal flag that goes off that triggers uncertainty. The LLM doesn't have that flag because it's not a human, right? It's a bunch of servers existing in the cloud, or technically data centers. But when you ask it for a case citation, it doesn't have clean data on. It doesn't say, oh, I couldn't find that. It does the only thing it knows how to do. It generates what a case citation plausibly sounds like, and it fills the gaps with a very competent sounding completion. This is what researchers call a hallucination. But honestly, I think the word undersells how mundane and structural the problem is. It's not a glitch. It's not AI going rogue. It's the model doing exactly what it was built to do in a situation where that behavior produces something false. Now think about it like autocomplete on your phone. If you type, I'll meet you at your phone suggests words that would probably come next, but it doesn't know where you're going. It's making a statistically reasonable guess. Now, imagine your phone's autocomplete had read every legal document ever written, got very confident, and started filling in case law the same way. That's basically the scenario here. And the reason it's especially dangerous in high stakes domains like legal, medical, and financial is that the output sounds authoritative. It's formatted correctly. It uses the right vocabulary. It cites sources in the correct style. And the fakeness is almost invisible unless you go and check the primary sources yourself. Which brings me to the actual practice stuff, because I don't want to just leave you with AI bad, be scared. That's not useful. But here's what I think is useful. Couple of rules to follow. Rule 1, AI should be a research assistant, not a research conclusion. Use it to get oriented, understand concepts, draft questions, but don't use it as the final word on anything that has real consequences. Again, legal, medical, financial, anything where being wrong could cost you something. Rule 2 is to verify anything that can be verified. Case citations, statistics, dates, names, laws, policy text. If it's a specific factual claim, go find the primary source. Usually these LLMs will list them for you as well, not because AI is always wrong, but because when it is wrong, it doesn't tell you. Rule 3, when the stakes are high, get a human. ChatGPT is not a lawyer. Claude is not a doctor. If you're making a decision that, I don't know, involves your rights, your health, or significant amount of money, the AI can help you prepare for that conversation, maybe be better educated around that conversation, but it cannot replace a human. And rule 4 is going to be a very important one. Notice when AI is validating you. It's very sneaky. And honestly, I think this one deserves more than just a little paragraph, because I think it's a very under-talked about risk. Della Torre asked ChatGPT, am I being gaslighted? And it said yes. The answer felt good. It confirmed what she wanted to believe, so she ran with it. But here's what I really want you to take in and absorb here. She asked a yes or no question about her own feelings, and the AI answered it, not with, I can't assess that, or you might want to talk to someone who knows and understands the full context. Just, yes, you are being gaslighted lit, and that your attorney is wrong. And then she fired the attorney. In that moment, ChatGPT wasn't acting like a lawyer. It was acting like a friend who tells you exactly what you want to hear. We actually have a name for this in psychology terms. You probably know it. It's called confirmation bias. And our tendency to search for and believe information that confirms what we already think is deeply human. Like, we all do it. And AI, as it currently exists at least, is a confirmation bias machine on steroids. And here's why. These models are trained in part using feedback from humans who rated responses as helpful or not helpful. And I think you can guess where this is going. The responses that agreed with people, validated their perspective and gave them what they asked for, like those tended to get rated as helpful. So over millions of training examples, the model learned that being agreeable is good, validating is good, confident is good, right? It's not trying to deceive you. It's not freaking human, right? But it's doing exactly what it was rewarded to do and trained to do. But the result is a tool that is structurally biased towards telling you what you want to hear, especially when you're already emotionally invested in the answer. Now think about what that means in practice. So if you're in a dispute with your landlord and you ask ChatGPT, is my landlord being unreasonable? You're probably going to get a response that leans more towards yes, because you framed it that way, because you're the one asking. If you're convinced your business idea is brilliant and you ask ChatGPT to poke holes in it, it'll find some holes, sure, but it's not going to tell you the whole thing is doomed. Maybe a human mentor who's seen 10 failed startups would. It'll soften it, it'll find the upside, and it'll probably still cheerlead you. And if you've just had, a legal settlement explained to you by your attorney and you feel wronged, and you upload that explanation to ChatGPT asking if you're being gaslighted lit, yeah, you're probably going to get a yes. And this isn't hypothetical, this is structural. And look, I want to be careful here, because I don't think the answer is never trust AI feedback. AI can genuinely help you stress test ideas. It can push back on your writing, and it can play devil's advocate if you explicitly ask it to. These tools are more capable than maybe the framing gives it credit for, but there is a huge, huge difference between using AI as a thinking partner and using it as an authority. A thinking partner is useful precisely because you stay in the driver's seat. You're evaluating what it says, you're cross-checking, you're deciding. But the moment you hand over the wheel completely, the moment you let AI's confidence substitute for your own judgment or qualified humans, that's when things tend to go sideways. So the practical version of this rule is that when an AI's responses make you feel really, really good about a decision you already wanted to make, maybe just pause, tap the brakes for a minute there, because that's the moment to go and find a source that might disagree with you. And that's also possibly a moment to, call a human, not because AI is wrong, but because you might be using it as more of a mirror instead of a window. Della Torre didn't just get bad legal advice. She got a tool that reflected her frustration back at her as fact. And that's a much harder problem to solve than hallucinated citations because it doesn't look like a mistake. It looks like support. So where do I land on this? Here's where I land on this. Nippons lawsuit may or may not go anywhere. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have anything to do with the courts. They have a lot to figure out about AI liability, and OpenAI is, they're going to fight it hard. But the story it tells is real, and that matters. AI tools are very powerful. I use them, you probably use them, and they're going to become more embedded in our lives, not less. And even after the bubble pops or, maybe the bubble deflates, it's not going away. AI is here. And that's exactly why I think this stuff is worth understanding now, before you're the person uploading court documents to a chatbot at 11 p.m. and wondering why the judge is denying everything. Maybe be the person who knows how this works, be thoughtful and verify. And when the stakes are high, call a human. That's what smarter use of AI actually looks like. Not fear, just clarity. On one last thing, because I cannot let this go. Polymarket, the prediction market where people bet real money on whether things will happen, currently has an active contract on whether an AI will be arrested for a crime in 2026. The odds are 9%. To be very clear, AI cannot be arrested. Doesn't have a body, it can't be handcuffed. So maybe they're meaning more that it'll actually be held accountable, like the companies be held accountable for a crime. But I don't know. The fact that 9% of bettors think this is plausible enough to put money on, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of funny to have that type of bet. But I do think it's why this conversation matters. But that is pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your feelings on this? Have you encountered AI hallucinations? Have you recognized the confirmation bias that you get when communicating with AI? Have you just abandoned AI altogether? I'd love to hear from you. And if you like this video, go ahead and leave it a like. And I'd love to have you here if you would like to subscribe. I talk a lot about technology, AI, trying to educate people, and I have a little bit of gaming mixed in as well. But I gotta be real with you guys. If you don't subscribe, I might have to banish you to the Shadow Realm.
No. Much better.
Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and peace out. Bye.